Let's talk Player of the Year nominations then, and the awards ceremony in general. talkSPORT reporter Alex Crook is with us again. Hello.
Morning again, Crookie.
Good morning. Doesn't it say a lot about the quality of players, particularly at Manchester City, that not many people are even talking about Kevin De Bruyne as Player of the Year? Amazing. Yep.
It is mad, isn't it? Because when we were speaking about this earlier on, Ali was even saying, Ali, you were sticking Phil Foden in there ahead of him, weren't you?
Absolutely, I was. And it's clearly nothing against De Bruyne, who's one of the greatest players to grace our leagues. But you look at Gundogan, Ruben Diaz.
Yeah.
I tell you, another one you could throw in, Crookie, and it just came to my mind there. The goalkeeper.
Edison.
You could throw him in. He's had a brilliant season.
He does it all, doesn't he? Clean sheet, sets up goals. Henry Winter has been writing about this very topic in his column in The Times today. Diaz's defensive artistry makes him my Player of the Year, says Henry Winter. He points out that Steve Nicol was the last defender to win the Football Writers Award way back in 1989. I've just looked up, actually, that in terms of the Players' Player of the Year, only 6 defenders in the top flight have ever won that award. It does tend to go to the more creative players, the midfielders and the strikers. Henry in this article says Bruno Fernandes is the bookmaker's favourite for the award, followed by Diaz and Harry Kane. I love Bruno Fernandes, but I think for me, boring as it may sound, it's got to be Diaz, isn't it? It's the old NFL cliche. Defence wins titles, and you look at Manchester City. They played most of the season without a recognised striker, without that number 9. They've kept more clean sheets, I think, than anybody else. And Diaz, again, to use the same description that I used on Cavani earlier, he is a Rolls Royce of a defender, isn't he? He just makes them purr. He's elegant. He's classy. I mean, Henry in this article describes him as the wonder wall blocking the way to Manchester City's goal. Obviously a play on the fact that Oasis are big Manchester City fans. But I think he would get my vote. In terms of Young Player of the Year, I agree with what, Laura, you were saying earlier, that 23 probably is too big a bracket, especially when you look at the fact that Marcus Rashford, for one, has been around in the Premier League for 5 years now, since he was an 18-year-old. But it has to be Foden, doesn't it? I mean, Mason Mount, 22, you could argue, is he too old to be even talked about in that category, but he's made a very good case. I think he's had an excellent season, actually kicked on since Thomas Tuchel came in, which is ironic considering he was dropped for Tuchel's first game. But yeah, for me it would be Diaz for the main award, and I think you have to give it to Foden, and it's really exciting to see what the future holds for Foden. I think he will be a future winner of the Player of the Year accolade, no question about that.
Crookie, would you stick Mason Mount in your nominations for the full award? Not the unders?
Possibly. I think for me it has to go to the team that win the title. Clearly they are the dominant force, and that will be Manchester City. But then you could argue that Chelsea, if they win the Champions League, then that makes a very strong case for Mason Mount. I think what's interesting now, Mason Mount had this sort of stigma attached to him. I've seen him called Frank Lampard's favourite son, etc. Basically because he came through the academy, and I think there's always, and Ali may relate to this, it's always difficult, I think, when you come through an academy. Scott McTominay gets an awful lot of flack at Manchester United. I think he's had a good season, not Player of the Year standards by any means, but fans seem to heap more pressure and pile more criticism on homegrown players than those that have been signed for a lot of money. I don't quite understand why.
It's a strange one, Crookie, because at the same time, they probably love the fact that they've got some of their own coming through the academy. I've always said, if you're a football fan of any club, there's nothing better than seeing some of your homegrown talent coming through, getting into the first team. But I take your point, in many occasions it puts a slightly bit more pressure on them, because, you know, all of a sudden they're not the attractive signing for 20, 30, 40 million. So if there's somebody to blame, maybe they do get a greater percentage of some of the stick flying about from their fans. But I look at somebody like Foden. You were talking about Foden there. He's just a dream ticket for me. I mean, and it's amazing, Crookie, myself included. I'm sitting here saying a year ago, you know, he might have to leave. He's going to have to get more game time. Is Guardiola doing the right thing by him? Asking all these questions. And then it looks at this stage as if Manchester City and Phil Foden have got absolutely everything perfect, and you're spot on. I mean, I think he's one of the players of the season. I know you're saying young player, he could be in the running for the main award, but I don't have any doubt he'll pick that up at some point in his career, come very, very soon.
I wonder how they'll
Could he win the Balon d'Or?
There you go.
Do you know something? If he keeps going the way he's going, yes. Honestly, I think he's that good. I really do, Crookie. I think He's magic, and he's coming out a crop. He's coming out a crop of your Grealishes, your Madisons, and boys like that. They're all magic. Mason Mounts, they're magic. But I think, and I don't know whether you agree, Laura Crooked, I just think at this moment in time, even Foden's just got himself in front, and I include Mason Mount in that, who's had a fantastic season. I just think Foden's the one that's just at the top at this moment in time of that crop.
I want to read you out Gary Neville's pick. So he did this on Monday Night Football last night. Loads of people, I mean, anyone you pick is going to get criticism from certain teams who are not in there, but he did pick 9 players from Manchester clubs. He put Mendy in goal, actually, but then he had Kyle Walker, Maguire, Diaz and Shaw. That's a back four. Then De Bruyne, Gundogan and Fernandes. And then Foden, Kane and Marcus Rashford. I suppose there's a few question marks you could throw really on all sorts of places. But when I say those to you guys, is there a player really that's screaming to be included? Because I know that Mohamed Salah, Liverpool not necessarily having the best season, but Salah's not that far behind in terms of Kane's goals. Kane's provided a lot of assists as well. But do we not have to judge him on his goals as well?
Of course. Yeah, I think so. I don't know whether you agree, Cricket. We said earlier on, I'm not sure Salah's perhaps become a victim of Liverpool's average season. There might be an element of that, but you can't complain about his goal return if he's one less than Harry Kane, who's in that team, and we're talking about him for Player of the Year.
Cookie?
No, I agree. I think that maybe the problem with Mohamed Salah is he sets such high standards that if he's seen to dip even slightly below those, then suddenly he gets scrutinised. But to score as many goals he had in a Liverpool team that have clearly underperformed for various reasons, I think is testament to him, especially when you look at the form of Sadio Mane, which has fallen off the proverbial cliff this season. I would struggle, I have to say, if you look at Gary's team, even looking through my red-tinted spectacles, I love Marcus Rashford. I think he's been an absolute superhero off the pitch, but his form on it, for me, wouldn't warrant a place in the team of the season.
Yeah. Okay. Alex Crick, thank you very much for joining us. You can go back to bed now. Or you're going to be doing something. You're going to be doing something on the next show as well.
Possibly. I'm keeping an eye on the UEFA announcement, read the Champions League final. But I
what do you think, Cricky? What do you think? What do you think in terms of that? I'm sitting here with everything crossed that they can get an agreement, but is it too far down the line, do you think?
It doesn't look likely. It looks like Portugal now. Lisbon is the favoured venue. And I have to say, I was speaking to Sam Matterface about this quite a lot yesterday, and we both agree that morally, I think there's a problem. I think, UEFA want the British government to waive quarantine restrictions for journalists and for broadcasters and for their delegates. Morally, when we followed this roadmap to the letter, to quote Ted Hastings from Line of Duty, I think it would be difficult for the government to make an exemption.
To the ladder. That was my impression. It was dreadful. Sorry about that.
Well